We have all heard of the Nahuales in Mexico, or the Lobizon in South America, the werewolves in Europe, and the Skinwalkers in North America, as well as the leopard men in Africa. But what similarity do all these monstrous figures have in common? Well, in that they are all humans who become beasts, either against their will or of their own free will. They are legendary creatures present in many independent cultures around the world. It has been said that this is the most universal of all myths, probably along with the vampire. Even today, many people believe in the existence of werewolves or other types of beastmen, and that they retain the typical characteristics of that animal, such as ferocity, strength, cunning, and speed, are clearly manifested in them to the misfortune of all those who cross their path. According to some traditions in Mexico, it is said that each person, at the moment of birth, already has the spirit of an animal, which is responsible for protecting and guiding them. In some regions, when a child is properly related to the famous Nahuales. Whether the child is born at night or during the day, the family members will, in any case, make a circle with ashes around the house. We have been told that at dawn, we will see traces left by local animals in the ashes. It is unquestionable that if such tracks correspond, for example, to a mountain fox, this would be the Nahual of the creature. But if the tracks were from any other animal, it would undoubtedly be this elemental, the Nahual of the newborn. Since pre-Hispanic times, the ability to take the form of an animal to interact with humans has been attributed to the gods of the Mayan, Toltec, and Mexica cultures, among others. There are records of beliefs that speak of the Nahuales being mostly witches, as they transform into animals to cast out evil. These feed on the souls of people, causing illness and even death. There are also shamans who are Nahuales, but they use this gift to defend themselves from witches. The Nahual leaves its human form for a certain time to acquire that of a chosen animal. There are several versions of how this metamorphosis is achieved. One assures that the witch simply disappears and incarnates in the animal, at will. The shaman claims to be able to incorporate his consciousness into the body of an already existing animal. Be it one way or another, there is a psychic affinity, a kind of soul kinship between the shaman and the animal into which he transforms, as if it were an avatar. Another says that it fragments, which means that it deliberately detaches part of its body, the eyes, the legs, an arm, or even the intestines. In this way, if you want to kill a Nahual, the best method is to follow it and observe where it makes its transformation, steal the part of the body from which it detached itself, since in this way it will be impossible for it to return to its original form and, at dawn, he will die. Another one states that the sleeping body of the sorcerer remains in his house, while his spirit wanders in the figure of an animal. In this case, to prevent someone from touching his sleeping body, the Nahual must do 7 somersaults. In the case of the Lobizon, there is a belief that the 7th male child, upon reaching adolescence, transforms into a wolf. Legend has it that the Lobizon is a being very similar to a stocky dog, with very large ears, very hairy, with legs and hooves and eyes that seem to breathe fire. It usually attacks people when it considers that they have invaded its territory. The curse says that if someone is bitten by a Lobizon, or even touched by a drop of its blood or saliva, they will inevitably become one as well. If you have a crucifix and repeat a prayer over and over in a forest at midnight, the wolf will walk away. It is said that on Tuesdays and Fridays, at the beginning of the night, the Lobizon loses its human form to transform into a horrible-looking dog or a wolf with very sharp teeth that prowls around cemeteries to feed on corpses. It is said that the Lobizon has a nauseating smell and that its appearance freezes the blood in the veins and makes people go crazy. His walk ends at the beginning of the new day when he returns to his human form. His appearance is that of a dirty, tired, elusive person with a painful look and disheveled hair. Seeing him as a human, people don't know whether to feel compassion or fear when they doubt whether he is the Lobizon or not. Now let's look at the case of skinwalkers. According to Navajo culture, they are a type of harmful witch who has the ability to become, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. Animals associated with witchcraft of this type generally include the coyote. Wolves and bears, however, other creatures may be included, usually those associated with death or bad omens. They can also possess live animals or people and walk in their bodies. In folklore and mythology, a werewolf is a person who transforms into a wolf, either on purpose or involuntarily, due to a curse or other outside agent. The medieval chronicler Gervase of Tilbury participated in the transformation with the appearance of the full moon. But this concept was rarely associated with the werewolf until the idea was taken up by modern fiction writers. The myth of werewolves seems originally from Europe and was closely linked to other superstitions and black magic. The myth is essentially masculine and, among the causes that were believed to cause someone to transform into a werewolf are: cover yourself with the skin of a wolf, sleeping naked in the light of the full moon, acquire the ability to transform into a wolf through magic and spells, being the seventh male child in a family and not being baptized, being bitten by another werewolf. According to tradition, most werewolves do not transform into such voluntarily. They are victims of a curse and suffer greatly at the time of their metamorphosis. What's worse, when transformed, they completely lose human consciousness and become dangerous, even to their loved ones. The only way to free a werewolf from its curse is to kill it, which is not easy at all. It must be done with a silver instrument, be it a cane, a knife, or a bullet, although in some areas of the Iberian Peninsula, there are rituals consisting of cutting off the head and ripping out its heart. Transformation into animals, therianthropy, was a very common belief in Africa. The leopard, symbol of strength and power, protagonist of numerous African legends, and respected and feared since ancient times. The Leopard Society was a secret society born in Sierra Leone at the end of the 19th century, in which it was believed that its members were capable of becoming beasts thanks to witchcraft rituals. The roots of these societies are found in the African cult of ancestors and spirits, and the sacred and totemic nature of many of their animals. The belief of their worship is based on the fact that a human can possess an animal, or that an animal can possess a human, with all the strength, aggression, and magical powers it can offer. These individuals were usually young men who were selected by the elders of the tribe and separated from a very young age. They were circumcised and had to undergo very tough training in an isolated area to become members. As an initiation rite, they had to kill a very close relative. They led an ordinary life in their society to maintain the secrecy of their activities. In their performances, the leopard men drank a magic potion, their main object of worship, which was precisely anointed with human fat. They wore animal clothing and masks so as not to be recognized. They imitated the sounds of leopards and were armed with knives and claws considered magical. They attacked at night in forest or bush areas, leaving a trail of murdered people. Its existence was a real headache for the colonial powers. Followed closely by the international press, the stories of these societies were cultivated in literature and fiction. Between 1850 and 1950, around 1,000 people died mysteriously who could have been murdered by the so-called leopard men. As we see, in various parts of the world, there are stories about people who can turn into animals, which makes you wonder if these are really just coincidences. But there are many things that scientists do not know or simply cannot explain.